Hey, welcome into Wrestling Spotlight. Gerald Bentley here, joined by a tag team making their long-awaited triumphant return to the ring for Tri-State Wrestling. Coming up soon, we'll talk to them and get the details. It's rock hard Jeremy Galloway, who I've known for 10 years now, and Big Eddie Fallz. You're watching this on Wrestling Spotlight. The best place to get it is to download that TrueTV Plus app. You can get it wherever you get your apps. You can also see us on Sports.tv, Carbon TV, and if you have a TCL TV, just slam the plus button. We're right there on every one of them. But hey, wrestling has made its resurgence. I know Jeremy from our other line of work going back years. Jeremy Galloway getting back into the ring, and Big Eddie Fallz. What made you guys decide to get back in the ring?
Well, I can speak for me. I mean, getting back in the ring is like it's always been in my blood. I've always been a pro wrestling fan. I grew up, watching pro wrestling. I was a big Hogan fan, and then in the '90s, obviously, I was, the Attitude Era, The Rock. Sure. Those are guys that always influenced me. Hulk Hogan when I was a kid, that's what got me into lifting weights and bodybuilding later on. But I've always, been into it. But what made me want to get back into it the most was just getting back together with, these guys. It's me and one of my other close friends that we wrestle with, Ace. So he's be on the show with us, but an opportunity for us to get back together. And the other thing about it is too, man, is after we left, when we were wrestling 98, 99, 2000, 2001, back in that, time,
sure.
We were Central States Wrestling. I mean, we were what made it happen. Big Daddy was the heavyweight champ, and me and Ace were the tag team champs. I was hardcore champ for a while. I was back when hardcore wrestling was big, and things happened. We got greener opportunities. Went to check it out, and then these fools that were wrestling on the 7th, they tried to make a name for themselves and capitalize after we left, and we're coming back to claim what's ours.
All right, yeah, I mean, a long time coming, right? Revenge is the dish best served cold.
Absolutely, 25 years best served cold.
Now, I mean, we show Central States Wrestling on the channel, and I think that's where to say how removed you were from it. You and I actually worked together, and I had no idea that you had been in wrestling, because if I did, we would have talked about it, because here, I've got a wrestling TV channel, and I knew you did fitness training, you worked out, but I didn't know that you had actually actively wrestled. It didn't come up until Central States Wrestling came back, and I was working and sponsoring it. And then we started talking, and you told me about your history, including some run-ins with a guy now known as Daddy Ass, Billy Gunn. And I'm just wondering, what was the drive that took you from that, just talking about maybe going to a Central States Wrestling show a couple of years ago, to putting in the work to get back in the ring? Because people who just watch this on TV and haven't actually gotten into the ring, it's not easy.
No. The ring itself is so hard, and the physicality and the brutality of your body is just insanity. But to give the feeling of going out and the crowd cheering for you, and you leaving everything in that ring for those fans, broken bones, concussions, and just being so exhausted you could barely get to the locker room, and laying in the locker room, the ice cold floor, trying to cool down, and your buddies unzipping your boots for you and helping you get undressed. Yeah. You never forget that feeling, and you want it all the time. And this is just a chance for us to give back, and it's different. We're 49 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot different. So but we're just trained even harder than we've ever trained. We're going to give the fans the same show we did when we were 20.
Yeah. So what kind of time commitment have you guys put in to get ready to get back in the ring? Because I know the amount of time I would have to put in, because I wrestled amateur style, but I know just getting in and doing an amateur match, man, I would need to put in weeks or months of work to be able to go and have a, presentable match and actually not embarrass myself. How
I think
much time have you guys put in?
the greatest thing about us and Ace, the regulators, is none of us have ever stepped away from the gym in 30 years. So
Well, that
we're all
helps.
in shape. So that's a huge part of it. And we're actually training with the Central State wrestling guys, Moonshine Mantell, down at
Uh-huh.
their school 6 hours a week.
Okay,
And
at the KC Wrestling Academy.
Yep.
now we should be going 9, 10 hours a week, but our bodies can't take it. I mean, 6
Yeah.
hours of mentality, it's ridiculous. But thank God we stayed physical.
I don't know about you, but the biggest thing for me is like as far as getting back into the ring for the first time in 25 years. It's like you said, we have never left the gym. So I mean, we still got the aesthetic look to it and the strength and those kind of things to do a lot of those moves. But the hard thing for me was getting back in and like really, doing that high impact cardio. Like just running ropes. You get your adrenaline going. It's like being in a street fight. Like you get out of breath pretty quickly, and that was the hard.
Yeah.
That's been the toughest thing, at least for me, is not necessarily the lifting weights and the strength part of it because we've stuck with that, but just
Sure.
like I said, that getting ring shape, cardio wise, those kind of things, and then like you said, the first time I took a bump in 25 years was just a back bump off a clothesline, and I felt like I was in a car accident.
Yeah.
So it's no joke, man.
I took a front roll, hit the ring, and snapped half of my hamstring. First
There you
time.
go. Yeah.
But
I mean, it happens, right? I mean, Shane McMahon.
yeah,
Shane McMahon, the last time he was in a wrestling ring, tore his hamstring, and that was it.
Well, you look at guys like that too, and you hear like Vince. I can't remember what the pay-per-view was, but he crawled in the ring and he couldn't get up because he tore both his quads. That's the same thing that happened to Triple H. Whenever he came back, he tore his quads. I mean, and that's just freak stuff like that happens. So we just try to prepare, your body as much as you can for what is going to be what you're going to come up to in the ring. So
Yeah, and here on a national level, we're all about the same age as CM Punk.
yeah,
He just had this was crazy. He just had his first one-on-one televised match in the WWE this past Saturday, and it's the first time he's been in a ring now for a one-on-one match since Christmas. He had a dark match against Dom Mysterio.
Yeah.
In about the last year, he's had a broken foot and tore both triceps.
Yep.
And he's had a total of maybe 8 matches in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's there, and that's a high level, full-time professional with, WWE, AEW, they have the equivalent of an NFL training staff.
Yep.
So I mean, it's not a joke. I mean, you can seriously get hurt.
Yep. Well, I like I said, when we wrestled last time, we were talking about this when we were down in the ring last time. There's different things you got to get not only that time getting out of the ring and get your timing back and those kind of things. But I'm 20 pounds heavier now from bodybuilding when I competed in that than I was whenever we wrestled before. Yeah. So you got to get used to that momentum. There's certain things, your body goes flying. You got an extra 20 pounds you're not used to carrying, and it makes a difference. So.
And I'm the other way. I'm 60 pounds lighter, so my bony ass hurts a lot worse.
Sure. Hey, let's go ahead and get the date in. It's Tri-State Wrestling. When does the return match occur?
September 7th, St. Joe at
Timeout
Event Center.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
6 o'clock will be the main event around 7:30.
Okay. And Tri-State Wrestling, it's been around for a long time. They hit the areas like Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, St. Joe a lot, come down into Gladstone occasionally.
And good shout out to John Rockhold for letting us do this. He reached out to Steve Ward, who started Central States Wrestling. We call him the Ward. He reached out to him and was kind enough. He's like, you guys have the main event, do whatever you want. For a promoter to do that that's unheard of. So thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and for people that are watching this, here, let's be honest. If somebody's watching an independent pro wrestling channel, they've probably been to an independent pro wrestling channel. But if they haven't been, what's the difference? What do you get going to an independent pro wrestling show versus going to see the WWE or AEW?
You're up close. I mean, you're right there in the middle of the action. One thing, so you can see, like, if you're a real fan and you know what's going on, you can see there and be part of it. You can see what's actually happening and really like feel like you're part of the action. Even if you're just a casual fan of the sport, you really you just get more involved. You're up close. People like they get to touch you and grab you and they walk, you're close in the crowd and things like that. Well, you don't always get that experience in a WWE event, things like that.
I think the other big thing is too, they get to come early and meet us all and hang out with us all, just like we're all buddies and family. So you don't get that at the big shows unless you have lots of money with the VIP. I don't care if you come with a general mission. You can come hang out with me for 20 minutes before, talk, ask me questions, take pictures, and it means the world to our fans. They just we're nobody without them. Who are we? We're just a guy walking down the street if we don't have fans. So I spend as much time as I can with those fans. I mean, we go to kids' birthday parties. I've gone to show and tell at schools for kids, and they still talk about it. They write letters to us. I think that's the difference with the independent. I mean, you're going to go have Hulk Hogan just come to your show and tell. And yes, they're way more famous than us, but to these kids, these local fans, we're like the biggest thing since they've ever seen. So it's just so neat.
I think the other side of that too is just to add on what he said. It's like, it's like in indie leagues, you never know who out of that is going to make, like we're all trying to get noticed by somebody, maybe get a shot at, WWE, AEW, one of those places, and get an opportunity there. You never know who out of that is going to get who's actually going to get picked up or get noticed. So it's like, to some of these guys, it's like going and watching like a big time college football game and see it's a future star, and you don't get that, everywhere else. So I think that's one of the things about indie league wrestling.
100% true, because you are seeing that. And here we work with FSW, Future Stars of Wrestling from Las Vegas. Well, the guy who main evented SummerSlam, Solo Sikoa, he's in the FSW Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
I mean, he is.
Awesome about the indie leagues, because you can go and see somebody in an armory somewhere, and you don't know, they could blow up and be the next big thing. It's just a matter of getting the right eyes on you. So that's really cool.
Central States Wrestling, about a year ago, the bounty hunter Brian Keith, now on AEW as the Bad Apple Brian Keith with Chris Jericho. He was in CSW a year ago. Tootie Lynn Ramsey, the Little Blue Dragon, she's on WoW now as Terra Strike. So you do see that movement. It's definitely real. And I think the independent wrestling is bigger now and more prevalent than it ever was, because you have these channels to get out there, to get exposure, to get on TV, on YouTube, on channels like this, on Pro Wrestling TV. And it's driving that momentum, kind of drafting behind AEW and WWE, hitting heights that really haven't been seen since the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah. And it just takes a few guys like you to bring it to a whole nother level. I mean, and you're just doing it for the love of it, but it makes it great for us because we're getting exposure we've never had in our life. I've never done a podcast.
When we did it, when we wrestled, we were talking about this the other day in 98, 99, whenever we were wrestling, we didn't even have social media back then. So have the opportunity. Shoot, we didn't even have cell phones back then. So like you didn't have cameras and stuff like that. So
you needed an agent to be at the show.
Yeah. And it makes it opens up a whole new world for indie league wrestling whenever you have those outlets now, people doing what you do. We have, like I said, social media and all that kind of stuff too, where we can do all those kinds of things.
Well, and when a promotion can take even literally as simple as a phone and an extra lens, have 3 of those and somebody who knows how to video edit, and you can slap together a television program that is broadcast worthy. by yourself basically for free, it changes the whole game because you don't need to have a big multi-camera studio. You don't need to spend a lot of money to get those matches out there and do it in an entertaining way. It's so much more accessible now.
I think that, and we talked about this the other day too. I think the other thing about that is, it's like now that you've got, like I said, all the outlets that we talked about, indie league wrestling, it's a lot easier, like for people to see and follow along with the storylines too. Whereas before, they have to, if they didn't go to every show, it's hard to follow the storyline, what's actually happening, and things like that.
Sure.
Now you can actually build better storylines, and people can follow the rivalries and do that kind of stuff much easier now, which I think draws a lot more people in. Because if you don't get to follow the whole story, you don't know what's going on, you may lose some people like that. So I think that's another advantage today.
Now, here, what's been the biggest shock in getting back in on a positive? What have you liked the most? And what's the thing that's kind of shocked you the most in a negative way?
For me, the most positive thing is I haven't really connected, except for like Galloway and Ace, in 25 years with these other guys, and we're on this big text thread, and we talk trash all day, every day to each other. And we are having more fun with that. I think we should do a comedy roast instead of the actual match. I think we would make way more money.
Sure.
So just having that brotherhood again, and just be able to tell somebody they're a fat shit and you want to beat them, and they laugh about it. It's just, that is so, it's just amazing. And the thrill of being back in the ring. And I'm doing this for my wife and my son. They've never seen me.
So they can see you in the ring. Yeah.
This is huge for me. And
good.
The negative part is my God, does the ring hurt? It hurts so bad, injuries. But I think anybody that wrestles, you're sick. You have to have a sickness, because I hate the pain, but I love the pain because it just makes you feel alive.
Yeah.
So what about you?
For me, the biggest thing that I like about coming back is it's very nostalgic, and it takes me back to when we first got into it. And I don't know about you, but we talked about, working in the same business, that kind of stuff. And you get in, and, wrestling was a dream, something that we always wanted to be involved in. And then you got, real life comes along, and you kind of get sucked away from that a little bit. And by getting the opportunity to do this again, it takes you back to those days a little bit. And it just it gets you away from, the normal everyday life. Everything just be so routine after a while and so monotonous. And this gets me an opportunity to go back and do something that I love, something that I enjoy, be with my best friends, and do this again and go out and beat some people's ass that we haven't had an opportunity to do yet. So that's always fun. The downside for me is besides the actual physical pain, the downside for me of it is it makes me wish that I would have not taken that time away and kept doing it for,
going,
5 years and see what happened. You know what I mean? So I think that's the downside for me. You got people out there like Ric Flair that have wrestled for, 50 years. And people are always like, why are you stepping back and doing this after 25 years? And it's just like, man, because, you just got that drive, that itch, still the love for it. So, I mean, those are the two big things for me.
Well, I totally understand that, because going to Glory Pro, watching their shows, they're at the South Broadway Athletic Club. It's an old boxing gym with a bar attached to it, like a quarter mile away from the Budweiser headquarters building. It's so close to the Budweiser building. They do Clydesdale tours of the area. I mean, there's people with Clydesdales that'll drive you around. So, I mean, it's a neat atmosphere. And they have a group that's out there doing shows every month. They do a 4-hour show every month. They draw 600, 700 people. And it's a really, really well done production with the guys giving it their all. And I think that's important, because what you said, Jeremy, and you get so stuck in your job and just going through the motions and sleepwalking through days, that's not living. You may as well try to do something
Yeah.
and be a little disruptive and just challenge yourself and see what you can do.
Yep. Yep.
I haven't felt this happy in years, and I have a good life, and I'm happy. But this is different. This is just like,
Yeah.
I'm giddy, like I'm a little kid again. I'm nervous all the time. I'm thinking, oh man, every day at work, oh, I'm gonna do this move, I'm gonna do that move, oh man, and I'm gonna talk some shit on the phone. I mean, it's made. It's
cutting
awesome.
promos again and stuff like that. It's not like you get to do that every single day, man. There's nothing more fun than cutting a promo. And it's like, talking shit to somebody. That's fun, man. So
Yeah.
it's an escape from the everyday, at least for me where I'm at my life at this point. And things
totally
good,
understand it.
It's just like I said, when you get a chance, an opportunity to do something like this, you got to jump at it, because this is not something everybody gets to do.
Yeah, I mean, I got back into doing some sports talk during COVID because we had a lot of free time, and when I was in grad school, I was a morning drive radio host in Cleveland, and WCW was on the rotation. They would come once a month to Cleveland. I got to interview Lord Steven Regal. I got to interview Diamond Dallas Page, and it was a lot of fun. I got to hop into the ring, do some ring announcing, and wanted to do that, and you realize now you have the means to do it. You're able to broadcast, and with WWE and AEW competing against each other and making each other work harder, I think that's really brought back a lot of the independent territories, and you're seeing just so much higher end wrestling for the reason you guys mentioned, that everybody knows now they're one breakout match away on YouTube from being on the NWA, being in Ring of Honor, being in TNA, being in AEW, or even NXT. Look at what Joe Hendry's done this month.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he blew it up. He had the single most watched WWE clip on Twitter X of the year. And that's the company with Cody Rhodes, with Roman Reigns. Joe Hendry has the #1 video. So it just shows it's there.
And it's just like, if you're willing to put in the work and take the chances at it, I mean, like you said, you never know what the reward might be. And like I said, everybody wants that, opportunity. But I think the other big thing about it is I should have said this earlier too. There's nothing else that's better than a whole crowd of people chanting for you, or when you come out, there's no better high. There's just nothing like it.
Yeah,
you can't duplicate that at your day job, right?
No.
And when you get that energy from the crowd, I didn't care. If they wanted me to jump off a 30-foot balcony, I did it. I broke my arm, I don't care. I broke everything in my body for them, because it was just, they gave me so much love and so much energy. I left it all on the table every night and didn't care. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
That's the one thing about it is we were like, oh man, this ring is so hard. But you know what? When we get out there on the 7th, you won't even notice it. The next day you might notice it, but
next day, 4 days after the bell rings.
Well, there's always time for pain when you're done. Now,
Absolutely.
I didn't ask you what was the thing that made you drive away. I mean, I know what led me out of doing sportscasting was the station got sold. I didn't want to move to a smaller city, and I said, oh well, heck, I had a job that everyone would want to do, and time to move on. And you don't really look back, but you still always want to do that, right? Because there's not many jobs that are equal to covering the World Series, covering the NFL championship, covering the World Series of golf. I mean, you just can't duplicate that in a regular job. It's just not there. And the same thing's true with wrestling. There's no job where you're getting to have the adrenaline in your veins. Everyone's out of control. They're waiting for you. That doesn't happen in a regular job. So what was the thing that made you move away? And you got to feel great now getting back in, right?
Yeah, for me, my father passed away right as I got into wrestling, and I was just wild. I was crazy. I was 320 pounds, and I was doing all the lucha libre stuff. And I'd made it. They were going to bring Terry Taylor was going to bring me into WCW as Buff Bagwell's brother. We had matching tattoos. I was just taller. And the week I went down there, I broke both my arms before I went. So I duct taped my arms, went down there, and that's when Vince bought him out. So Terry Taylor got me a tryout with WWF at the time, WWE, and went to Connecticut, and I had to wrestle Elegante. And they wanted him. They told him he could have his contract back if he could jump off the top rope. So he body slammed me, climbed the rope, fell, and his knees went into my rib cage and crushed my ribs. Ooh. And I was bleeding out my mouth, nose, couldn't breathe, rolled out of the ring, and they're like, "There's 50 million people watching, and you didn't finish your match. You're done." And they put me in a car, took me straight to the airport, and sent me home. And at that time, we both had college degrees. I had a business I was running. It was like, to me, that was an aha moment that one little injury, you're done. One bad match, you're done. I just didn't want to live like that anymore. And I had the glory. I'd had all the injuries. I had a business. I had a good life. So I just left it. And I've never quit talking about it. So this is just a chance for me to get back to it.
Well, heck, and especially at that time, because, like I've said a couple of times, there's competition again. At that time, that was before Ring of Honor. The NWA pretty much was gone. I mean, it kind of existed, but not really, because it had kind of gotten bled into WCW. When WCW went out, that ended a lot of people's careers because there was one place to go then. And really the independents dried up too, because interest just dropped really fairly quickly. Vince won kind of, but he really sort of lost because the interest just dropped down for about a decade.
Yep, sure did.
Yep, and for me, kind of a little bit different situation. So I had kind of a decision to make because I had a really good job opportunity that came up that I either had to, I'm going to go after this and take it as far as I can go as far as the wrestling goes and see what happens, or I had to make a move and move into a career opportunity and basically kind of grow up at some point because, and you know what I mean? And it was a tough decision because it's like, do I chase this or do I take what I know was there and then maybe try to come back to, revisit this, which is what I, decided to do. I was like, okay, this is a gamble. And do I roll the dice on it and go with what I, this potential dream? And I looked around at the time and there were some guys that we were wrestling with that had been in the game for 20, 30 years that were our age back then that were, had been chasing that dream forever. And, they, we're talking about guys that had some pretty rough injuries,
making $100 a night.
Yeah. And it's like, I hate to sound like, the guy that, gave up on his dream a little bit, but, I had to kind of make a really life-changing decision. And that's what it came down to. But I always thought, too, I was like, you know what, once I get, a little established in life, take this opportunity, build a life for myself, there's nothing that says that I can't come back to this maybe at some point and take another shot at it. And here we are. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Well, it's got to be a great sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have more freedom now to be able to do, the things that I want to do. And like I said, I'm just thankful that this opportunity came up. Who knows where it's going to go or what's going to happen from it. But, like I said, I'm here to, put everything into it and give it another shot. So.
Well, and, I think there was a benefit from pro wrestling too, because you and I shared a lot of career paths, and the jobs that we do, it's super helpful to have no fear, zero miedo, to go and talk to anybody and say anything. And you definitely have that ability.
Exactly. You got it. I mean, you've known me for a while, and like I said, we were just talking about the last time that we did a radio show, a few radio shows back when we first started doing this. But like it's never been a problem for me to talk. I've always been pretty outgoing, and that's always helped. Obviously, the professions that you and I have been, same thing with you've always had your own business, those kind of things.
I've owned 15 different businesses. So you got to have balls the size of Kansas just to even get through today. It just is what it is. But my thing is, I don't regret leaving. I did something that millions and millions of people wish they could do. I did it at a high level. I made it quick. I got out with, I had my health. I still had my brain. I've made good living. I've had a family. I don't regret my decision getting out, and I definitely don't regret getting into wrestling. It was just amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, because everybody says they want to do it, but not everybody's willing to go put in the work, right?
That's the same thing that is with a lot of things too. Like, when I got into bodybuilding and competing in that, like a lot of people talk about wanting to do it, but they're not wanting to put in the time and what it takes to do it. Same thing with wrestling. Everybody talks about wanting to do it, but not everybody's, once it comes down to it, not everybody's going to take a fat chair shot to the head multiple times. So
everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die.
Yeah, exactly.
But we went through so many people in the tryouts, because our tryouts we'd make them take bumps, and then we line them up and give them chest slaps for 10 minutes. 99% of the people are like, no, I'm good. I'm not doing this.
They're good on the chops. Yeah.
What's funny then is back then, talking about getting in and you hear about the stories of the guy, like the Bret Harts and all the stuff that they did back then. But I mean, for us, like I said, for guys that didn't come from wrestling families like that, like those guys did, when we started wrestling, we were kind of getting into it and teaching ourselves, and trying to learn from people. But we had guys like Hacksaw Butch Reed that came in and whooped your ass. And then I wrestled Dave Burkhead. He was an ECW guy. Knuckle Sandwich threw me down a flight of stairs at the St. Joe Civic. I've never been beaten with a chair so many times as I was that night. I still whooped that ass. But
they wanted to see if we were tough enough to be in the game.
Yep.
Butch Reed bit all 4 of my earrings out, spit them in my face, told me to never wear earrings, started punching me as hard as he could. He beat the shit out of me down at the Beaumont Club for a good 10 minutes. And you're going to be all right, kid. You're tough. I'm like, I'm over there crying. I don't think I'm that tough.
But we did get the opportunity. Like I said, we had to kind of learn on our own until we finally got some people coming in to really work with us. That's one of the things that I really like about, where we're going down and working out at now. Just trying to. They have one of the things that I think is a big advantage to guys today is they have guys that have, do nothing but like have schools and teach them how to, do the basics, running the ropes, taking bumps, all that kind of stuff. You didn't see that as much back then. No. It was a lot of guys that we would watch what was happening on, Monday night, and then we would go and try and pull that same stuff on in the ring, and that's where we put a lot of our matches together at, because you didn't have the same.
We taught ourselves for a year and a half. We'd watch TV and then go replicate it. We didn't have coaches.
Yeah, you didn't have, and Moonshine Mantell, who runs the Kansas City Pro Wrestling Academy, he's a terrific wrestler.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a guy who honestly should have had that break to get on the biggest stage. I mean, you can go watch SWE wrestling from a couple of years ago. It's available on YouTube, and watch some of those matches Moonshine had there, and some of the ones he had in Central States Wrestling. The guy's a terrific wrestler.
Yeah.
Who's the other guy? The big
Hoodie.
Hoodie Hollett.
Yes,
oh my God!
He's a great teacher, man. We went down there and watched him working with the guys, that he's teaching now. And like I said, that was one of the things that immediately came out. It's like, we wish we would have had somebody that taught us the way that they have. I don't think they realize today, a lot of the guys in there that are in the rings today, the younger guys, what an advantage they have over what we started, because we didn't have guys that knew the business like they did. We had people come in, eventually, like you said, after about a year and a half, but we didn't start out with every week somebody coaching us like those guys have.
Our punches look good, our kicks look good because we did them for real. Because we didn't know any other.
That's one way to do it.
I mean, Howie and Moonshine taught us more in 10 minutes than little tricks that we didn't know for 20 years. I mean, I just hope anybody that wants to do wrestling go to that school. Those are two of the top coaches you're going to find. I mean, I can't talk.
It's just off downtown Kansas City.
Yeah,
nice, convenient, good area. I mean, it's right there. It's just off the highway.
And those guys are so nice. Oh my God, they're amazing.
Yeah, and they know their stuff. So, like I said, it's nice to be able to bounce ideas off of them and pick up things. You know, and again, we did it for a few years, and we got some pretty good opportunities, met a lot of people and things like that. But you can, especially after being gone for as long as we have, it's always nice to get in and work with somebody that's got that kind of knowledge and experience that you can always pick stuff up from. So,
yeah. Well, hey, let's get one more mention in for the Tri-States Wrestling Show coming up.
Absolutely. September 7th. What's the place? Brain damage.
It's the Timeout Event Center. That's our manager.
Yeah, our manager.
There you go.
Timeout Event Center in St. Joe.
6 o'clock.
So, and it's I just want to point out that it's the regulators. I don't even know who that one dude is that we're wrestling. I know we're going to whoop his
Chubby Justice,
fat the ginger jobber. I think that's what it's called. Yeah.
Lot knobber.
Yeah, then there's the cell block or something. I don't know. All I know is the last time we saw you 25 years ago, we smacked your ass all around the ring in Cameron, Missouri. I know those where I wrestled the dark side. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a walk down memory lane. Just so you know. Regulators
mount up, baby.
There you go. Drag them through their memories.
Absolutely.
A trail of broken dreams. Hey, we'll take a quick break here, play the station ID on Wrestling Spotlight, come back to Weekly Champions. Here we go.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Taya Valkyrie La Güera Loca, and you are watching Wrestling Spotlight.
So now, hey, it's time for the Weekly Champion segment. I'm just going to ask you guys, who's your champion of the week? Could be anybody in the world of pro wrestling.
I am in love with, is it Vicaro, the Mexican Viking from AEW? Oh my God, he is amazing. He is my idol. He is amazing. Is that his name?
Oh, Alquila de Vikingo.
Yes. Oh my God, he's amazing. I love that guy.
Yeah, he is amazing. We saw him in person when AEW came into the Cable Dahmer Arena in Independence, and he had a match against Kenny Omega. Yeah, he is amazing.
It was awesome. He's my favorite by far. He's one. They're all the talent these guys have now is just insane.
Gosh, that's tough for me. I'm gonna have to say,
me?
Yes, Big Daddy.
Yeah, it could be him.
I got a belt that says I'm your champion, bud.
If I had to pick somebody, I guess from today's wrestling, it would be probably. And I'm not a huge. I mean, I don't think he's like the GOAT, like everybody says. I mean, he's. I think he's got a big push, but I mean, the fact that Roman Reigns came back, I think you're speak. So he's probably my champion of the week, I would say, just because there's time off rolling back. But not that like I said, I can't say that I'm a huge fan of that guy overall, but for the week, I would say that's him, just for making us time off and making a big appearance back. I think that's for the sport.
I would say for this week, Roman Reigns too, because he went from being the top heel in the company to being one of the biggest faces in the company in about 30 seconds and said nothing.
Yes. Yep.
That's pretty impressive. That takes some talent.
Just my little champion for the week.
Yeah, there you go. And you guys, here you go. You get the Wrestling Spotlight Championship for the week.
Nice.
Yeah. We'll send you a Wrestling Spotlight belt. You can put it at your office.
I got a place for it up there. Absolutely.
There you go. We'll send you up one. Well, hey, thanks for joining us here. We'll get back with you guys after the big match, after the win, I'm sure. Coming up September 7th at the Timeout Event Center in St. Joe, Missouri. If you're in Kansas City, it's only 45 minutes. It's a straight shot, super easy down I-29. You can go see them in action. September 7th, the doors open at 6. The bell rings at 7. Tri-States Wrestling. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys, on Wrestling Spotlight. Stay tuned for more sports and entertainment right here. And go ahead and download that True TV Plus app or watch it on Sports TV or Carbon TV for Wrestling Spotlight.